I installed a security camera because someone kept stealing packages from my porch. That was the only reason. I never imagined a tiny black lens mounted above my front door would expose a lie so devastating that within weeks, my entire life would become unrecognizable. My name is Olivia, and until that moment, I believed I had built the kind of life people quietly envy. I had a loving fiancé, a stable career, a cozy suburban home, and plans for a wedding that was only 4 months away.
Ryan and I had been together for almost 7 years. We weren't the flashy couple on social media, but we laughed every day, trusted each other completely, and dreamed about growing old together in the same little neighborhood.
Every evening followed the same comfortable routine. I'd cook dinner while Ryan talked about work, we'd binge a few episodes of whatever series we were watching, and we'd fall asleep believing tomorrow would look just like today. Then our packages started disappearing. 3 deliveries vanished in 2 weeks, and my neighbors complained about the same thing. Instead of waiting for the police to solve it, I bought a motion-activated security camera and installed it myself. The first few days were boring. Squirrels, delivery drivers, kids riding bicycles, nothing unusual. I almost forgot the camera even existed until one afternoon my phone buzzed with a motion alert while I was sitting in the office. I expected another delivery notification, but instead I saw Ryan leaving the house in the middle of the workday. He had told me he was working overtime, yet there he was carrying a backpack and locking the front door. At first, I laughed it off. Maybe he forgot something important. Maybe he had an appointment. Everyone deserves privacy, I told myself. I closed the app and went back to work, pretending the strange feeling in my stomach wasn't real. The next day, it happened again. Same time, same backpack, same quick glance over his shoulder before driving away. I didn't mention it because I wanted a simple explanation more than I wanted another uncomfortable conversation. By the end of the week, I checked the recordings out of curiosity. Ryan had left the house during work hours 4 different times, even though every night he complained about endless meetings and impossible deadlines. I finally asked him about it over dinner. He smiled without hesitation and said I must have mixed up the dates because he hadn't left the office all week. His answer came too quickly, like he'd practiced it already. That tiny lie bothered me more than the mystery itself. If he had simply admitted running errands, I would have believed him. Instead, he confidently denied something I had literally watched with my own eyes on video. The following Monday, another notification appeared. This time, Ryan wasn't leaving. Someone else walked up to our front porch, looked directly into the camera, pulled her hood lower, and slipped a sealed envelope beneath the welcome mat. When I got home, the envelope was gone. Ryan greeted me with his usual smile, kissed my forehead, and asked how work had been. I searched beneath the mat after he went upstairs. Nothing was there. I replayed the footage again and again. The woman clearly hid the envelope. No one else approached the house except Ryan 20 minutes later. He bent down for only a second before unlocking the front door. That night, I barely slept. My imagination invented 100 explanations, but none of them felt convincing. The only fact I knew for certain was that Ryan had hidden something from me, and he didn't want me finding it. The next afternoon, I left work early without telling him. I parked 2 streets away and waited. Exactly at 1:12, Ryan walked out carrying the familiar backpack. Instead of driving toward downtown, he headed in the opposite direction. I followed from a distance, feeling ridiculous the entire time. Every traffic light gave me another chance to turn around, but something deep inside refused to let me stop. I needed the truth, whatever it looked like. Ryan parked outside a quiet neighborhood I'd never visited before. He walked into a small blue house carrying a grocery bag instead of the backpack. 30 minutes later, he came out empty-handed, smiling in a way I hadn't seen for months. My heart shattered before I even knew why. Every terrible assumption rushed into my head at once. Another woman, another family, another life. I cried in the driver's seat, convincing myself I'd already discovered the answer. When Ryan came home that evening, he acted perfectly normal. He asked about wedding invitations, laughed at a joke on television, and held my hand exactly the way he always had. Somehow, that hurt even more. The next morning, I couldn't focus at work. Instead, I called in sick, drove back to the Blue House, and waited across the street. After nearly an hour, an elderly woman slowly opened the front door. She struggled with several grocery bags before I finally crossed the street to help her. She thanked me warmly and invited me inside for coffee. I accepted, not because I wanted coffee, but because I wanted answers. Family photos covered every wall. Some were decades old, others looked recent. Then I noticed one picture that made my stomach drop. Ryan stood beside the elderly woman with his arm around her, both smiling through tears. She caught me staring and smiled softly. "That's my son," she said proudly. I nearly corrected her before realizing she genuinely believed it. My mind couldn't process what I just heard. Before I could ask another question, Ryan walked through the front door carrying fresh flowers. The color drained from his face the second he saw me sitting beside the woman he'd never once mentioned. The silence lasted forever. Finally, Ryan whispered my name like someone caught reliving their worst nightmare. The elderly woman looked between us, confused, sensing that something important had just broken, without understanding exactly what. Outside, Ryan admitted everything. The woman wasn't his biological mother, but she'd raised him through most of high school after his own parents abandoned him. Years later, she developed early dementia and slowly forgot pieces of her life. Her memory had rewritten the past until she believed Ryan was the son she'd lost decades earlier. Doctors warned correcting her repeatedly only caused panic and emotional trauma, so Ryan chose compassion instead of painful honesty. He visited her several times each week, brought groceries, paid her bills anonymously, fixed things around the house, and let her believe the comforting version of reality that gave her peace during her final years. I wanted to believe him, but one question still haunted me. Why hide all of this from me? Why lie straight to my face every single time I asked where he'd been? Ryan looked down and admitted the truth he was most ashamed of. Years earlier, he'd told an ex-girlfriend about the situation. She accused him of living a double life, mocked the woman, and eventually used it against him. He became terrified that anyone he loved would misunderstand the situation before seeing the whole picture. So instead of risking judgment, he buried the truth under simple lies that grew larger every week until they trapped him. I believed him, almost. Then I remembered the mysterious envelope. His face changed again. Without speaking, he reached into his backpack and handed me the same unopened envelope I'd watched disappear beneath our welcome mat. Inside was a DNA test result addressed to Ryan. Months earlier, he'd submitted the test hoping to locate biological relatives after decades of unanswered questions. The hooded woman was a private investigator delivering sensitive documents discreetly. My hands shook as I read the report. Ryan had discovered he had a biological sister living less than 20 miles away. He hadn't contacted her yet because he couldn't decide whether reopening the past would heal old wounds or create new ones. He planned to tell me after he made peace with the information himself. Instead, every secret collided at once, making innocent decisions appear suspicious. The camera hadn't uncovered betrayal, it had uncovered fear. Weeks later, we met his sister together. Their first conversation was awkward, emotional, and beautifully imperfect. They compared childhood memories that never overlapped, laughed through tears, and quietly began rebuilding a family neither thought still existed. The elderly woman eventually passed away peacefully. Ryan held my hand throughout the funeral, introducing me to neighbors who thanked him for years of kindness they'd witnessed without ever realizing how much he'd sacrificed in silence. Today, that little security camera still hangs above our front door. It never caught the package thief, but it forced us to confront secrets we'd both been too afraid to discuss. Sometimes the truth doesn't destroy a relationship. Sometimes it saves it before the lies do. If this story reminded you that trust isn't built by assuming the worst, but by finding the courage to face the truth together, let me know in the comments. And if you enjoy emotional stories with unexpected twists, subscribe, because the next one might change the way you see people forever.